Hi, it's Ashley, or as I go by now, Ash. I it's been a long time, about 12 years, and a lot has changed. I'm posting now mostly because I'm on a healing journey. I've been through a lot, and I think you could kind of see that even when I was a kid. And I hated that version of me, the one you see on that channel. She was the one that no one liked, that no one wanted. And I couldn't stand looking at it, so I never watched it. Then a few nights ago, I sat down with myself. I was a little tipsy, I'll admit that. And I watched it. I watched all of them, actually. And I couldn't understand why I hated her so much. I couldn't understand what was wrong. What I saw in those videos was a lonely girl who really wanted someone to talk to and didn't have anyone. So, hi. Let me reintroduce myself. It's time to go back to the old days. I'm going to be talking about me, my life, what I've been through, what I'm dealing with now. Like, I'm, as I said, on a healing journey. So it's going to be boring, but I don't care. So I am now married. Um, I've been with my husband since 2017. Um, and I'm also polyamorous, which teenage me never would have imagined. I also have a partner of over 4 years who lives with us also. And I have a daughter who is going to be 7 in June. I never would have imagined this. If I could go back and talk to old me, she wouldn't believe it. So let me reintroduce myself. I'm 29 now. Last time I was here, I was 16, 17 years old. It was one of the darkest times of my life. And what I'm going to be doing on this channel is I still don't think anyone's going to watch, and I don't care. I'm going to journal back to OG YouTube because I've been on here since it started. My old channel I talked about is now deleted. The emo show is gone, rest in peace. But I've been on YouTube since it came out. I was like 8 when I started. So let me give you a little rundown of what has happened in the past 12 years. Um, Not that you knew much about me to begin with. I now would proudly wear the label of whore. If you looked at my old videos, I kept saying, I'm not, never a whore. A little, a little. But who cares? Um, it was mostly, I hated that term because my dad told me when I was 13, after he beat me, you're going to be a 300-pound whore who no one could ever love. He wasn't too far wrong. So, since you last saw me, um, I moved out of my mom's and my dad's when about 17. When I stopped recording, I moved back to my father's. Um, I needed to get away from my mom. It wasn't healthy. And I was broken and I wanted someone to accept me. I wanted love. I so badly wanted love. I wanted to speedrun life. You saw how I looked. I struggled with dating. I kept getting bigger. I met this guy named Xavier when I was, I think, 18 on Craigslist Personals. Yes, yes, Craigslist. I was that desperate. I was so used to people rejecting me because of how I looked that I didn't want to go on a dating site. I had, and no one ever responded. Or if they did, they just wanted sex. So I just put out there, hey, I'm a weird, nerdy girl who just wants somebody I can connect with. And Xavier reached out to me. Wasn't a serial killer. And He was, I think, 25, 24. He was a couple years older than me. I think 5 or 6 years older than me. Um, Sweet, dorky guy. Uh, Honestly, he gave me a lot of confidence. I was at my biggest. Um, when we met, I was about 250 pounds. Um, he treated me like I was the star. We moved out together, and he got us into an accident. He was going under a tunnel, and it was flooded, and it sucked the car in. I was too big to get out the window, so I was trapped in a flooded car all the way up to my neck on a very hot day for almost 2 hours. I have trauma-induced fibro now. Within 6 months of that, I couldn't walk, and I was wheelchair bound, and I gained a lot of weight. I got to almost 400 pounds. He still loved me. He was very sweet, but I was just existing. I couldn't even get in the kitchen. I needed help to bathe, to get around, and I hated myself. I threw myself into gaming and drawing and got really into Game of Thrones, which I have a tattoo for. I have quite a few. Um, and it was a good time. But after about 2 years, we got engaged, and I kind of realized that although I loved him and he made me happy, and I was so scared that I would never have anybody who would love me, I ended it because maturity wise, we weren't on the same level. I couldn't barely walk, and he could barely take care of himself as it was, and I needed someone who could help take care of me. Food would be left out for days. He'd forget to help make sure I could get up and do things. It was just not good. And I moved back to my mom's. It was not fun. And that was a fight. And I had to pay her money when I couldn't even fucking walk. I got denied for disability. I met a really douchey dude who I'll call Sir Vapes a lot, because that's what I did call him, who shattered my confidence again. I remember I accepted dating this guy who told me I wasn't allowed in his apartment because I was too fat. Yeah. And I let him move in with me. And he cheated on me while I worked. He quit his job and he'd just smoke weed and play Ark all day. And he brought girls to fuck in my bed while I was working. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. But after him, I got weight loss surgery. And I lost over 200 pounds, got really mobile again, and had a terrible dating scene. I will probably make videos talking about how dating was for me as an adult. I'll tell you poly dating stories because those are fun. Um, and I'll also eventually tell you kind of what happened with high school at the end of it because that's a whole story. But then I ran into my husband on Plenty of Fish, and we talked about Star Wars and comics. He looked like the serial killer. In fact, his coworkers had nicknamed him the Unabomber, and he looked like it. Um, but I loved nerding out with him, and he had a very nice voice. So I was kind of willing to die, yeah, if that's the last thing I heard. So we didn't spend much time apart after we met. Our first meeting was a coffee date that lasted like 5 hours, where he opened up with, "By the way, I'm still married," and me saying, "I never want to have kids. I never want to get married, and I don't want to move in with anybody for at least 2 years." He moved in 2 weeks later. I was pregnant 6 months later, and I got married to him a year and like 4 months later. So, yeah, all that went out the window. we became polyamorous because Paul is asexual, and it was hard. It took 2 years of him trying to convince me, him being like, honey, you have needs, and me being like, nah, I'm so loyal. Until I did research on poly and understood what it meant. Um, I met my other partner, Zeth, who I've been with for 4 years, and she's incredible. Watched my daughter grow. I did become a stay-at-home mom for a bit as I worked on my degree and raised my daughter. I now have a bachelor's in history, which was always my dream. My dream is to get a PhD. I still have that goal eventually, if the world is even around, because God, feels like it's fucking falling apart. But um, I bought a house in 2020 because my gut's always very good, rightly before the market went poop. And I went back to work in 2021. And at the same time, like at one point, I was a stay-at-home mom who worked full time and who's going to school full time. That lasted 6 months. Um, I ended up graduating. Uh, Major changes in my life. My dad and my grandma couldn't attend my college graduation as they've both passed on. My grandma, who was my best friend, will be dead 10 years this year. That was the hardest loss I ever had to deal with, but I've dealt with many, many, many more. My father passed away in 2020, not of COVID, diabetes. He couldn't get help. So, Luigi, homie, I feel ya. I feel ya. Because I also know being chronically ill, if I couldn't have my meds, I don't want to live. I'm in so much pain all the time, both physically and mentally, and I can't sleep without my meds. Too many violations have happened to me. 2020 was a really rough year. Robbie, the one you saw in my videos, I had him move in with me. He was still with Erin, the girl that he kept cheating. They kept cheating. Yeah, it kept happening. It kept happening. And I even helped make their wedding dress and did their wedding. Took care of them for a couple of years when we got the house. We all lived here. But in 2020, we also had to deal with a rape case. I was raped by my friend's stepdad at 15. It wasn't the only time. It wasn't even the worst time. But he had many, many more victims, all children. And so those of us who were old enough, who weren't scared, we got together to testify. He was finally going to have to face consequences. It's sad. He had been arrested probably at least 4 times for rape, but they were dropped. And he killed himself right before our first court date. So there was no closure there at all. That's how I feel about that. I'm very mad about it. I was also diagnosed with autism around that time, which, felt so freeing. To realize that I wasn't broken, that I wasn't just a giant fuck up who couldn't understand all the rules, that it was just part of my brain. It it helped so much. It really helped me grow because once I understood that it was just the wiring of my brain and I could find ways to work within it. I wasn't trying to follow the neurotypical pattern anymore. I looked what worked for neurodivergent people, which I should have done anyway because I had ADHD and been diagnosed since I was 10. But it really opened up a whole world for me. Um, it's been a crazy time. Uh, I I'm still here, and I can't even describe everything that I've had to go through. And the funny thing is, the past 10 years aren't even the worst of it. Most of it was that girl you saw, the one in those other videos. A lot of my trauma came from my childhood. So I will be talking about the things I went through a lot. I'll also be talking about the good things in my life and what I'm currently doing and dealing with. Like, I just want to let it out. It's my little video diary that I'm posting online because I'm not ashamed of who I am. I'm not ashamed of what I've been through. I want my story to be told some way. And everything I've been through destroyed so many of my hobbies. It made me feel like I could never do anything. The very least I can do is say it, tell my story. Because one day if I can't, these will be here for people to know me, to understand me, and to see me. Because if I'm honest, the only thing I really want in this world is to be seen, is to be understood. And I'm going to try to do that. I know there's a lot more to my life that I haven't talked about. I'm going to just come back and let you know, but I can tell you that right now I'm going to be getting surgery next month. Well, not next month, March, to get my excess skin removal for all the weight I lost. And I'm currently low to no contact with my mom. There's a lot of stuff there. And I've finally taken the weight of self-hatred off of me. I can look at myself, this, and say I love her and that she's not broken and that she's not a mistake and she's valuable. That I have never had to, nor will I ever have to, do something or be someone else to state my worth. Because I am enough as I am. And I've only just started feeling that now. I lost myself for almost a decade to people pleasing, to masking. I wanted to be accepted, but I got rid of who I was to be accepted. So here I am. My looks have always been crazy, but I'm letting Ash back out. And I hope you guys want to get to know her. And if you don't, I don't care. These will be poorly edited, dumb videos. There are going to be a lot that talk about trauma. So fair warning on that. But there's also going to probably be me ranting about history and games and X-Men. Because I love my X-Men. Got a tattoo of X-Men. Got Doctor Who. I have a lightsaber, a British flag, my Game of Thrones. And yeah. So here's to what's to come. I'm going to need someone to vent to with Trump being back in office and the whole world going tits up. I am a historian, first and foremost, and I'm not only going to tell my history, but I'm going to tell what I'm dealing with, seeing, living, and experiencing from my perspective. Do not expect me to be reliable. Do not expect me to even remember or exist. I will not be surprised in the slightest at all if I post this and completely forget to post for years. But I did. So, hi to everyone. Bye to everyone. Thank you to anyone who sat here and listened. Because I do deserve to be heard. I hope for your company again. Have a great night.